I'm elated to have her with us. 21 years ago, at Mawaqib graduation of 1995, a speech that is still remembered as one of the most beautiful ever at our ceremonies, she spoke. A few years later, she graced us again with her presence at our academic awards at Barsha, and again managed to move us with her genuine words and inspiring presence. Today, she is with us once more. Today, she is an AMSI voice. And again, we are privileged to have her here. There is so much I can say about her accomplishments, her achievements, her accolades. Instead, I choose to just tell you that she is a phenomenal woman. She is strong, she is authentic, she is giving, she is kind, she is loving, she is dedicated, she is our Rami. She is a phenomenal human, and she is a maker of change. My absolute honor, privilege, and joy to invite Her Excellency Reem Al Hashimi to deliver her keynote speech to you all today.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ms. Alissar forgot to tell you that we can open this up to questions. So I'll finish really quickly the formal remarks. So بعدين, let's just have a conversation. And if you allow me, I will do this between Arabic and English. It's a little bit daunting to realize that it was 21 years ago. I was hoping to say over 20, but 21 specifically, when I was exactly where you are. وأنا أتذكر هالإحساس. أتذكر إني ما كنت عارفة شو بسوي. أتذكر إن الكل كان يحاول. Sorry, is Arabic is throughout? Yeah? Okay. English? Monsieur Michel? أتذكر إني كنت أسمع نصايح كثيرين بس ما كنت متأكدة ولا كنت عارفة شو بسوي وكيف بسوي ومتى بسوي، لكن البريشر كان فظيع. ويمكن الشيء الوحيد اللي أتمنى أني أقولها لكم اليوم إن المدرسة هذه مع منظميها ومع مدرسيها كانوا أهلي. الأهل مو فقط صلة دم، الأهل أيضاً الأصدقاء الأوفياء. وبكل فخر أقول أني كنت بين أهلي في مواكب. وأتمنى أيضاً أني أعبر عن قاعدة مهمة أنا تعلمتها في حياتي، والقاعدة هذه هي أهمية الاحترام. الواحد إذا احترم نفسه مستحيل يكذب، إذا احترم غيره، إذا احترم بيئته، إذا احترم الحيوانات اللي حوالينا، إذا احترم علاقته مع ربه، مع أهله، مع دولته. هذه كلها محاور مهمة في بناء الإنسان. So I've noticed a few left and right nods by folks, so I'm going to just quickly switch back to English. I apologize for that. In a nutshell, I try to emphasize the importance of finding your family. And your family isn't only who you were born into. And I'm very proud to say that this school was actually my family. And the teachers here that I've seen after so many years are my family. And I hope you get a sense of what that is, because it's really quite remarkable. And then the second point that I wanted to mention to you, or that I had mentioned in Arabic, was the power of, or at least the important impact that respect can have. It's very important to understand respect And it's very important to employ it in your life. As you respect yourselves, as you respect your surroundings, you respect your country, you respect your friendships. Because he who or she who respects could never lie. You can't lie. And I'm not talking about lying about missing your homework. Lying is, for me, the ultimate... when you lie, you do something to yourself, and eventually that kind of eats up. It eats up until you lose sight of who you are. And then you can never breathe that sigh of relief or content that Ms. Alissar was referring to, where you feel pure content and pure happiness. So those were the two messages. I started off in Arabic, and in English I'd like to continue by saying that at this stage of your life you could really do anything you want, but that doesn't help you much, does it? The fact that you can choose whatever path doesn't necessarily make the search any easier. I remember when I was your age, I thought I wanted to do architecture. And then I did engineering for a while. I always wanted to be a doctor. And then somehow I found myself in international affairs. I never thought I'd go to Harvard. But Miss Susan, I remember, Miss Alissar always said that it was never impossible. I applied to actually only one school, which was Tufts, which Mrs. Susan introduced me to. And I thought I couldn't even pronounce it, Tufts. What does Tufts mean? Where is that place? And now as I think back, it's one of the most exciting times of my life, but doesn't even compare to my time in Mawaqib. Doesn't hold a candle to the friendships I've made here. In fact, one of my best friends is now taking care of my children while I'm here because the nanny's day is off. So that just shows you that the relationships that you can build here could really take you all the way home. There are many exemplary women around you, those that Ms. Alissar had mentioned, others as well. I'd like to mention Fayrouz. I'd like to mention Miriam Al-Mansouri, our first fighter jet pilot. It's not confined to a particular discipline or a particular title. At the end of the day, you have to decide, who do you want to be? It's a phenomenal amount of power that you actually harness that you're perhaps not so aware of. And everywhere I look, I see that women are making incredibly powerful strides. Earlier today, I met a girl, I reconnected with a young woman who graduated with me in Mawaqib 21 years ago. I have not seen her since then, and she is an incredible, phenomenal artist. And I'm already thinking how I have to stay in touch so we can continue to work on things together. If you allow me, I'm sorry, I'm going to just pull this thing underneath my feet, just because there we go. Yeah, it's okay. So, thank you. So as you look through who and where you want to be, I hope that you recognize that whether it's business or government or science or even the field of education, that you could really reshape things and make a significant difference. And today is your turn to learn from those young women and some men, frankly, who've done quite a bit. I mean, I still remember physics class with Mr. Adonis when Ayrton Senna passed away. And he walked into the class. Ayrton Senna, for those of you who don't know, I of course did have no idea, was a Formula One Brazilian driver. And when he died, Mr. Adonis said, "The world has changed." And I thought, he is crazy. And later on, I realized Ayrton Senna was not just a Formula One car driver. He achieved remarkable things. He exemplified the power of the human spirit in achievement in sports. And that is something that you respect. You respect somebody who worked so hard to show the full potential of the human spirit. Mr. Michel is someone I can't talk about without tearing up, because he made the most amazing things with the least that you could possibly have. Now think about employing that approach to your life. When you find yourself with little, with pain, with difficulty, and you make something remarkable from it. Do you think all he does is art? No, he does life. That's what he does. So I'm here to also talk to you a little bit about how you can find that dream and how you can find that aspiration, and how your parents and your teachers and your friends can actually help you get there. They know you more than you know yourself. But at the end of the day, it's your journey to take, and it's your path to employ. And great teachers can help you find that passion. So let me close off here by really opening up the floor, because I think in the spirit of AMSI Voices, and if I am privileged and honored to be considered a voice, I don't want to just talk to you. I'd like to hear from you as well. And if my experience can do anything to help you get a little closer to where you want to be, I'd love to take the opportunity now to be able to do that. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Seriously? Yes. No what? Yeah, it's okay.
What you're doing now, was it planned already, or was it through the experience? Did you, like when you were our age, did you think of doing what you're doing now?
Never. I never, and this is something that I think I should have mentioned. I had no idea that I would reach this post, but I always wanted to do good and to do well. And my advice to you is, don't look for a title. Titles will come and go. There will come a time I will not be a minister. That's just the way the world is. It's the natural course of things. But don't, and I see this a lot with my employees, with my colleagues in the office, they're always trying to get into a higher title and into a higher title. And it's good, it's good to be ambitious, but I would rather folks be more ambitious about the work they're delivering, about the value they're making, creating, the impact they're leaving. I promise you, if you keep your focus on the work, it'll happen. But if your driving force is that title, that seat, that recognition, if you will, and you're not really good at what you do, you're not really dedicated to the work, you're going to fall flat on your face really quickly. So my advice has always been, become the absolute pro at your work, which is why you need to decide, what is it that you want to do? What subject do you love? Why do you love it? What drives you? What is your passion? Because it's really hard to be very good at something you don't like. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for your beautiful speech. I have 2 questions, if you don't mind. First, being a woman, what are the challenges you faced through your journey to getting where you are today?
And second one?
Do you want to answer that first, please? Because it's parted.
It's related?
Yeah,
Okay.
sort of.
I just like to know what's coming, you know.
So,
Okay, that's fine. It is much harder to do the work that we do and be women, but we've never been more privileged to live in a society and with a government that recognizes that hardship. So during Expo, for example, when we were campaigning, I was in Paris and I was 9.5 months pregnant. That type of pain, nobody understands. We traveled so many different places. Even before Expo, I remember having an ear infection and being in Papua New Guinea and needing to inject myself with antibiotics. That may have been the same for men or women, except that I was the only woman on the plane, and it was a private plane, and I obviously was not going to ask any of my male colleagues to inject me. So my point is, we work harder because we also feel we have more to prove. We also need to balance our lives with our family and with our work. But we could never have been more privileged to do that when your bosses upstairs recognize those challenges and make allowances for you. So yes, it's very hard, but someone has to do it.
thank you. And what are the skills that you've gained and earned from your experience in Al-Mawakib?
Al-Mawakib taught me about the power of dedication and love. I was not patient when I was younger. It is something I learned later on in life. I think also I learned multitasking here quite well. I used to do all sorts of different things, and we continued to be challenged in AMS. We were doing, whether it's, as I mentioned earlier, different exhibits with Mr. Michel, but then we would still have to study physics, and we'd still have to do something with scouts, and it was very diverse. And that teaches you how to be a wholesome or a holistic type of person. Later on, I think I recognized the importance of not coming quick to judgment. It's easy, to say he's bad, he's good, she's right, she's wrong. Dangerous. Those are really dangerous interpretations when you don't allow someone else not just the benefit of the doubt, but their moment in the sun. And I think I also learned that patience is a virtue. Again, you read it, you hear it, but I had to learn it. And it's perhaps one of the most valuable lessons. اصبروا على أعماركم. Don't rush your lives. Enjoy it. It'll come. Just be conscious and be aware of the beauty of the moments that you're living through. Those are really important.
Good morning, Your Excellency, and thank you for your inspiring speech. My name is Shirina Aluta, and I wanted to ask you, as an Emirati woman, did anything come in your career path, and if it did, how did you eliminate?
Did anything what?
Come in your career path, like an obstacle?
I think I've had my share of them, and perhaps no different to some of my other male ministers, male colleagues who've also undergone tremendous challenge. It's important to maybe take a step back and learn something from history. Our country will turn 50 in 2021. So we are, in every sense of the word, evolving and in our making, trying to prove and trying to grow and trying to become, and I believe we are, a global citizen, a model of change in a very difficult region. To do that, those that represent the government and those that represent the country, which is all of you here today, By the way, national, non-national alike. Nationals know that if it's not for the strong expatriate presence here, we would have a really hard time continuing on our cycle of development. So the symbiotic relationship between both is quite important. And if we're trying to build a different kind of Middle East at an age that is not only difficult, but at a young age as a nation, then it will require you to give everything you have. Everything. And there have been several moments in my professional life, whether we were negotiating a free trade with the United States, or there was this massive Dubai Ports World debacle in DC in 2006, or we were fighting for the IRENA campaign against Germany, or even as recently as the Dubai World Expo against Russia and Turkey. There have been many moments when I've wondered how will we pull through? And it is those moments of doubt, I think, that you can almost rely on the clarity of the vision that you have. That's why a clear vision and a dedicated team and that concept of family that I talked about, that's not necessarily who you're related to, but that is your core group. That's what pulls you through. Otherwise, life is hard, but it's also the most beautiful thing around. So we need to balance between enduring its hardship but not becoming bitter, and enjoying it to its full extent so that we could give back to it as well.
Just two more questions.
Hello. Yeah, I'm a guy. I'm also a teacher here. Miss Alissar is regretting this right now by inviting me. Anyways, I have a question for you in regards to, as a teacher, being 11th and 12th grade English teacher, so many of my students are talking to me and asking me about the importance, obviously, of grades and test scores, so on and so forth. My question is, can you briefly describe your journey of personal/character growth and the importance of that growth compared to academics and test scores? Where is the balance? And for you, in your path, what essentially kind of drove you further? Was it your academic life, or was it that personal growth that really allowed you to become the person and have the successes that you have today?
Thank you. I'm not a big believer in standardized exams. Maybe because I didn't do so well in them either. But I think it's less about the score you get and more about the discipline you have to employ as you study for these tests. So don't look at your end LSAT score or SAT score or TOEFL score. They're still called TOEFL now. I think you have to study. You have to put in the long hours. You have to practice, you have to have your mind practice the need for creative thinking, but also repetition. I mean, I know everybody's against memorizing. I have to memorize. I have to memorize a whole bunch of stuff. But it's not all I do, and it's not how I learn. So I would say that standardized testing is a little bit archaic in how it defines how the student fares, but it is still an important tool and element to get you to your next milestone. So I would tell myself, instead of bickering about how GRE scores or SAT scores are pointless, the 4 or 5 hours I had to study, because I also tried to go to law school and didn't make it, an LSAT or a GRE exam, for example, or an SAT, SAT1, SAT2 is more applicable here. You have to do that because it actually trains your mind to think faster and to move a lot more fluidly, if you will. But don't be disappointed if you don't score a particular number. I scored terribly. I think I made it. So at the end of the day, it's about the person in his entirety. It's about your personal essay. It's about your recommendations. And it's about whether or not you've done the hard legwork of trying to discover who you are and what you want. bearing in mind that that will probably change as well. But to actually go through that cycle of growth is important. For me, I think it was really a combination of both. I've gone through some pretty challenging personal times, certainly not more challenging than many of you here, or certainly not as challenging as others around the world that go through far more difficult plights. But I think it was a combination of both. And at the heart of it lies a sense of you have to pick 2 or 3 things you believe in. Figure it out, pick them, and then live by them. If it's the power of teaching, if it's respect, if it's service to the nation, if it's your faith, whatever it is. Otherwise, you're going to just stay lost, moving from one extreme to another. So it's important, I think, to discover what those cornerstones are in you, and then try to develop not necessarily a plan towards it, but at least they become lighthouses for you, and then the choices that you make are drawn from that. And I'm lucky. I've had a very rich life full of experiences, both difficult but also incredibly gratifying. And I feel that has helped me. And I'm continuing on this path of searching and learning. It's never over. It should never be over. One more question.
First of all, thank you for your speech. And this week in school, we had a debate about women in combat. And the point we got stuck on is whether women should be obliged to join the military just like men, and thus achieve true equality. What are your thoughts on the complete equality between men and women?
I think first I have a great respect for those of us in combat, men or women alike. And I think we've done incredibly well in bringing equality between both genders in the UAE. I think there's still more that can be done. I'm actually in cabinet, I'm involved in reviewing some of the legislation that can be more equitable, shall we say. I believe that it's difficult to enforce women to be part of the military. Because women it's not because they're not able, but they also have other obligations. Because guess what happens when the men go to war? The women take care of the family. The women take care of the orphans of that family. The women manage weddings and funerals. The women carry over business of that family as well. So the role that we play in continuing the development, growth of the country, of the community, is so critical that I do not believe that it should be forced upon women to go. I think those who do serve, and that's why I mentioned earlier on Miriam Al-Mansouri, who's an amazing friend of mine as well. As I learned in Mawakib, chapeau, right? You put your hat out to them. They bring a sense of tactical knowledge to the table that our fellow men sometimes miss. But I wouldn't force it, especially if I was trying to do it under the prism of equality. There is a whole bunch of other things we can do on equality, let alone let women, force them to go to war or force them to serve in the military. I hope that doesn't contradict my government's position, but this is my personal view. I can take one last one. One last one.
Thank you very much for your motivating speech. My name is Haneen, and I have a question. What made you remain motivated and dedicated to what you want to be and what role you play?
What made me... So first, it's not easy in the sense that you kind of do this a little bit. Like sometimes you feel more committed than others. You feel also a sense of sheer exhaustion and why don't I just join the private sector or what have you. So there's always a sense of fluctuation. But I think where you don't fluctuate is if you've figured out what matters to you. And for me, what mattered to me was service to the country. That, whether it be my father was in the military, my mother, Allah yarhamha, was really she was a patriot in every sense of the word. My uncle's in the military. I always had this sense of service to the country. And that sort of stuck. Now, whether you end up being an ambassador, or you end up being a clerk, or you end up working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or you end up being a representative of your government in a particular field or in a particular conference, those change. But I think that was my cornerstone. And that's what I encourage you to try to find. And believe me, I didn't find it easily. I certainly didn't know it at your age. But the question here, or the advice here, is to look for something, to search, to be aware, not necessarily to find it, but to begin that journey and recognize that it is a journey and that you'll find your way through the questions into your answer. Thank you very much. It was lovely to be with you.
Before you exit, 25, 26, 30 years ago, you were a student and you learned a lot. Today, you taught us. I'm talking on behalf of at least this table, of your ex-teachers who are today your learners. I could listen to you non-stop for the next 24 hours, and I'm mesmerized.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming home.
Thank you. Thank you.